Thank you, and welcome to today's Candidate Forum, brought to you in partnership with City Club of Central Oregon and the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County, two organizations that are passionately nonpartisan and whose purpose today is to engage and inform Central Oregon voters for the special district election on May 18th. Our goal is to provide opportunity for fair and impartial discourse, to educate voters about candidates' views on issues, and to stimulate voter interest and participation in elections. Today, we are hosting the candidates for the Deschutes Public Library Board position for Zone 3, which includes La Pine, Sunriver, Brothers, parts of Southeast Bend, and surrounding areas. All candidates must be registered to vote and live in the zone that they are seeking office for. The board is comprised of 5 elected members who serve 4-year terms and represent the 5 communities served by the Deschutes Public Library system. My name is Kim Scott, League of Women Voters past president, and I am honored to serve as moderator today. I'd like to give a quick shout out to City Club and the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County, annual sponsors and members. Without their support, we would not be able to bring you today's program. Today's live stream is also made possible by Connect Central Oregon, a nonprofit launched with the assistance of OSU Cascades Innovation Collab. Our sponsors for the entire series of the candidate forums are G5 Digital Marketing, Miller Lumber, Brooks Resources, the Deschutes Public Library, Shearshaw's Group, and Louis Capozzi. We are grateful for their support for these educational forums. If you are interested in supporting City Club or the League of Women Voters, please check out our websites to get more information, cityclubco.org and lwvdeschutes.org. All candidates who are in contested races were invited to participate via email and follow-up phone calls. We do not let a lack of response or an RSVP of regret cancel our forums. We appreciate the gravity of committing to run for office, and our goal is to provide opportunity for fair and civil discourse. Thank you to our candidates for participating in today's forum. We will start with 2-minute opening statements. Then each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer questions in a rotating order. Questions are taken from the community and members of City Club and the League of Women Voters. At the end, each candidate may give a 2-minute closing statement. For opening and closing statements, we have randomly selected the order, so let's get started. The candidates today are Ann Ness and Martha Lawler, and Matt, welcome. We are going to start with opening statements and opening remarks. Martha, will you please do your opening statement, please? Thank you.
Thank you. And again, thanks for inviting me to participate in this forum. So I'm Martha Lawler, and I have lived in La Pine since 2004. I'm running for re-election to the Deschutes Public Library Board of Directors for Zone 3, which primarily encompasses South County. For starters, I was born in Annapolis, Maryland, and raised in Monterey, California. And during my childhood, my mother installed in me a passion for reading, a love of libraries, and an interest in volunteering. After I retired in 2004, my husband and I moved to La Pine, and I started looking for a volunteer opportunity. And the La Pine Library was the obvious choice. I started volunteering there in 2004, and I do so to this day. Along the way, I also served on the La Pine Library Advisory Council and the Library District's Budget Committee. I was first elected to the Library Board in 2011. My current term expires June 30th, and I'm currently serving as the board president. And it's a very exciting time to be on the board. Thanks to the generosity of Deschutes County voters, the library bond on the November ballot passed. This will allow construction of a new central library in an underserved and growing part of the community. This facility will offer new services as well as provide operational efficiencies in support of the other branches. Bond funds will also be used to extensively remodel and modernize the other branches. The board is now in the early stages of bond implementation, and since I've been involved with the run-up to the bond from the get-go, I would love to get to see it through to completion, and so I'm asking for your vote in the upcoming election. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martha. Anne, would you like to do your opening statement, please? Please unmute.
Sorry. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Ann Ness. I live in the Sunriver area, which is in Zone 3 of the library district. I am running for a seat on the board because I firmly believe in the value of strong community libraries. I've been a teacher and a school board member and am now a literacy volunteer and an advocate for children in foster care. I see firsthand the critical role local libraries play in building our communities. People come to the library looking for information, but they find each other. I know from my experience that the best place to find these connections is at the local level. That is why I have a real issue with the library's expansion plans. I am concerned that the emphasis on the proposed central library, both in terms of dollars and programming, overshadows the need to grow and support our community branch libraries. The library has raised $200 million from the bond. They are planning to spend 60% of it on one library in North Bend, leaving just 1% for each of the local libraries in our district. Think of it this way. The plan will build one large library and expand the existing downtown library in Bend, while budgeting enough money for the Lapine and Sunriver libraries to make only renovations and updates with no expansion to their buildings. At the same time, the plan calls for closing the widely used East Bend Library, which is in one of the fastest growing areas of our county. I ask, is this fair and equitable? I think not. I care about our communities. I want our library system to connect people in the communities where they live. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight and to reach out to the communities in Zone 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. And now we'll start with the questions. And Anne, you're going to have the first question. What do you think are the greatest needs for our libraries?
Thinking going forward, the greatest need that's presenting itself is with the accessibility of technology. This past year has really emphasized how much our daily lives are being impacted by the COVID. So many more of us are working from home. We're accessing so many of our resources from telemedicine to banking online. Many of our community members don't have access to computers and Wi-Fi, and they really do depend on our libraries for that accessibility. So I think in going forward, our libraries will be challenged in presenting or providing accessibility to technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Martha, same question, please unmute. Perfect.
Okay, could you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. What do you think are the greatest needs for our libraries? And from now on, if you need me to repeat them, just say, I'll be happy to.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I would agree with Anne. The digital divide is alive and well, and that became all too apparent when the pandemic hit. We have, particularly in Lapine, for example, there's a lot of people that rely on the library for the Wi-Fi, for the computers themselves. And it was very disconcerting for us when we had to close the libraries and limit the access to the buildings for those people. And so one of the things that this bond is going to address is to upgrade all of the branches and build in a state-of-the-art technology system into the new building, and hopefully be able to provide things, if nothing else. For example, our Wi-Fi is accessible from the parking lots of our buildings. So if you can't get into the building, but you have a Wi-Fi enabled device, but you don't have the internet access at home, you can come to the library, and even if it's just sitting in a parking lot, hopefully it's better than nothing. Hopefully, of course, we will get through this pandemic, we will reopen, we will be able to provide upgraded technology in the building, in the new building, and in all the branches, and help to address the digital divide here in Deschutes County. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Martha, you'll still have this next question.
Okay.
The $195 million bond for the expansion of the library system was approved by voters last November. What is your opinion about using that funding for new large library in the north part of Bend versus using a greater share of the funds to provide more support of the local and community libraries? I'm sorry, we did these questions early.
Well, we started this run up to the bond in 2014. And I'm one of 3 board members who's been involved from the get-go. And we spent a lot of time looking at other library systems. We hired consultants. We went out, we did community outreach, and became just, it's sort of a best practices in the industry now that you have a central library that can serve your branches. And so this large library, first of all, it's in an underserved part of the county. And so we are reaching out, and the board takes a county perspective. So we are putting a library in a part of the county where there isn't one. This is also going to be large enough so that we can consolidate operational, provide operational efficiencies that are spread out at this point between our admin building and our downtown Bend library. All of that behind the scenes can be moved to the large library, and that will provide operational efficiencies to the outlying areas. So there is something definitely for everyone in this proposal. And I think that it took us 6 years to decide this was the way to go. We did our due diligence. We're comfortable that we made the right decision for the county residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martha. Anne, same question, would you like me to repeat?
I would, thank you, Kim.
The $195 million bond for the expansion of the library system was approved by voters last November. What is your opinion about using the funding for the new large library in the north part of Bend versus using a greater share of the funds to provide a more support of the local community libraries?
I do think that there is some excitement around the new central library. It's going to offer some real state-of-the-art programming and some meeting space. But my concern is more for our community members in the accessibility. The new central library will be a 50 or 60 mile round trip from our community members that live in the Sunriver or Lapine area. So I wonder how often our community members will be able to and willing to make that trip. I'm really concerned about, or I care about our community members. For example, the other day I was at the East Bend Library and saw a mother walk into the library with her 3 children in her wagon. And they were in the library filling the wagon with books for the week. I was in the Lapine Library and noticed the librarian at the main desk addressing a patron by their first name. So I'm concerned about the continuation and the building and support of our community members to make sure that our libraries are accessible to all our community members in whatever community that they live in. In talking to my neighbors and some community members, I found that they did not support the bond, and it wasn't because they don't value libraries. They valued, or they were concerned about the location and the size of the new central library. So I think there's some consideration from our community members to look at the size and scope of that new central library, thinking that maybe we can reallocate some of those funds to our local branches. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. And you'll also have the next question. Planning and design forums for the bond concerning the new and renovated libraries included significant input, feedback, and review from the community. Now that the bond is in place and the real planning starts, how will you work to ensure that the community and organizations have meaningful participation?
Kim, I'm sorry, I got a lot of feedback on your question. I hate to ask, but could you please repeat that?
I will be happy to. Planning and design forums for the bond concerning the new and renovated libraries included significant input, feedback, and review from the community. Now that the bond is in place and the real planning starts, how will you work to ensure that community and organizations have meaningful participation?
Thank you, Kim. In my decision-making process, I really firmly believe in bringing all stakeholders into the process and asking for their input. The planning, as Martha said, was over a 6-year period, and much of that was done before COVID. I think COVID is really shifting the way that we're looking at how we're operating in our daily lives. So I think it would be very valuable to bring all our stakeholders back into the process and really ask them about what their current needs are for our libraries going forward. So very much so opening up some dialogue to our community members. And I would really encourage that from all communities within Deschutes County. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. Martha, your question, would you like me to repeat?
Yes, please.
Planning and design forums for the bond concerning the new and renovated libraries included significant input, feedback, and review from the community. Now that the bond is in place and the real planning starts, how will you work to ensure the community and organizations have meaningful participation?
Okay, thank you. Yes, so we have hired what is called an owner's representative, and they are the taking the lead on our behalf as the overall project manager. And we have a timeline that they have put together. And part of that timeline includes community input. They are in the process of putting together a request for qualifications to hire our architectural firm. And as part of the requirements for the architectural firm, there will be community input as far as the design for not just the central library, but the branches as well. We have some conceptual designs prior to the pandemic. And so those are, and Anne is right, we need to rethink how we're going to do things so that we can be more pandemic proof to the degree that you can be when we do get through this thing. And so those conceptual designs will serve as a start, but they will need to be reimagined. We came to those conceptual designs through extensive community input and forums, and we will continue with that as we reimagine these designs and our architectural firm moves on. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Martha, you'll have the next question.
I keep forgetting I get 2 in a row.
I'm here to remind you. So what do you or would you add in terms of abilities to the library board if elected?
Well, I think my experience speaks for itself. I have this has been a labor of love for me since I started volunteering at the La Pine Library in 2004. And I've worked my way up the ladder, if you will, through the advisory council, through the budget committee, and now on the board. This is my second time through as a president, and I've been involved with every step of the way with this bond and everything else as far as conducting the library business. The bond, of course, is top of mind, but the library still has business to conduct, and I've been very involved with it for since on the board since 2011, so 10 years, which is hard to believe. But so I think just my knowledge, my experience, my corporate knowledge, if you will, definitely will add value as we move forward, both with the bond implementation and when we finally get into a post-pandemic world. Thanks.
Thank you, Martha. Anne, same question. Would you like me to repeat?
Please.
What do you or would you add in terms of abilities to the library board if elected?
Great question. Martha has some wonderful experience. As she said, you know, she was at the get-go for getting the bond going and has been on the board for quite a number of years and involved in the library at the local level and at the board level. So that experience is very valuable. But I think there's great value in bringing a new lens and new energy to the table for decision making. I've had experience as a school board member and also as serving on local school district committees with some experience addressing budgets and policies. My background in education, literacy and advocating for children and families, I think is a great complement to the library, especially in their community outreach. So I think there is value to new experience in a new lens, and value to old, very established experience. But I would look forward to bringing a new lens and a new energy, and really advocating for our community members to the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. Everything's okay, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so you get the next question too. So what aspect of working for the library district is most important to you?
Gotta unmute myself. What's really most important to me is the community base. In my volunteer work with literacy, where we're looking at tutoring students and adults in literacy, I am a court-appointed special advocate. I advocate for children in foster care. So having that accessibility to our community and having resources that are readily available for all of our community members is really important to me. So I think if you were to ask why I want to be on the board, it really is that community piece, that accessibility, and that advocating for all our community members to be able to access the valuable resources that our libraries offer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. Next question, Martha. Oh, we're not in the next question. Sorry, Martha, your turn.
It's my turn. Yes, could you repeat the question again, please?
I would be happy to. What aspect of working for the library district is most important to you?
Okay, yes. So the Deschutes Public Library District is an invaluable community resource, and it works. Libraries just in general work to level the playing field between the haves and the have-nots. And we do, our doors are open to all, and the haves and the have-nots as well. And we can provide, for example, people who can't afford Netflix can come into the library and check out a DVD. If they can't afford to buy a book, they can come in and buy a book. They can do research online. And I think one of the most important parts for me, is to be able to offer that leveling of the playing field. I've been very fortunate in my life, and I just feel that I need to give back in any way I can, because I have been so fortunate, and I know people who have not been. And so the library does offer that ability to level the playing field for our less privileged patrons. And that is very rewarding for me to be able to participate in that.
Thank you very much, Martha. And you get the next question again too. Next question, the Deschutes County Public Library System has many programs for the communities it serves. What are some of the programs you support, and which do you not support?
Oh, geez, I'm not sure there's any I don't support. I guess my favorite one is the Novel Idea program, where it's a community read. There's a novel every year. There's programming involved around the novel idea, and it's just a tremendous community builder, and I think that's probably my favorite. But there's so many programs for children and for adults, and that cover just the gamut of anything you can think of, bird watching and going out into the desert, and whatever you can think of. There's probably a program at one point or another for the library. The other thing I really like is the author series. That's handled through our foundation, because that is a fundraiser for the library. But what a tremendous opportunity to listen to just well-known and just amazing authors to come in and give their presentations. So I can't honestly think of anything that I don't support as far as this library is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martha. Anne, same question. The Deschutes County Public Library System has many programs for the community it serves. What are some of the programs you support and which do you not support?
I'm like Martha. I can't think of anything that I wouldn't support. Our library system really is dynamic. That they offer so many programs for everybody, from children up to our senior citizens. Some of my favorite ones are, is they offer homework help for our students. They offer curriculum design for our teachers. A teacher can call in and say, I'm doing a unit on the high desert. The library has a curriculum and resources available that they can share with that teacher to implement in their classroom. You can book a librarian to do research. So if I'm a high school student or even a college student and need some help, I can book a librarian to help me with my research. There are online classes from starting your own small business, and there's tutorials on how to do anything from do-it-yourself home projects. I mean, I think Martha and I could spend this whole hour talking about what the library offers. Martha mentioned the author. That is a fundraiser. I heard from somebody that is participating from New York. So that author program is not just in Deschutes County, it's nationwide. So our library system is exciting and it offers a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Anne, you get this question first. Which groups or persons do you get your information about how the library should comply with the COVID-19 restrictions? Which restrictions do you agree with and which do you not? Thank you.
Could you do that one more time? There's a couple of little elements in there I want to make sure I address.
Okay. Which groups or persons do you get your information about how the library should comply with the COVID-19 restrictions from? Which restrictions do you agree with and which do you do not? I know it's a little weird, but
right. I really do get my information on COVID restrictions from our county. I get information from our state and most importantly from the CDC. I think our county and our library system and our city has done a nice job on following through with the recommended restrictions and really making our communities safe. I really can't think of a restriction that I have issue with as an older citizen and being a little more at risk for COVID. I just greatly appreciate all the efforts that everyone involved in our city and county and our library has taken to keep us safe, to really protect everyone from this pandemic. It's been hard for everybody. And so I just really appreciate everybody's effort in participating in keeping people safe and healthy. Thank you.
thank you, Ed. Martha, same question. Should I repeat?
Yes, I think you should. Thank you.
Which groups or persons do you get your information about how the library should comply with the COVID-19 restrictions from? Which restrictions do you agree with and which do you not?
Okay, so as far as the library is concerned, our library director is the one who keeps the board informed as to what is going on as far as requirements for a library system as far as the state of Oregon is concerned. So he works with various state guidelines, Oregon Health Authority, anything that Governor Brown has published, and reacts accordingly and keeps us informed of what needs to happen as far as his ability to still provide very needed community services through the library, but keep both our patrons and our employees safe. And so we have a standing agenda item on our board agenda for the board meetings where he discusses the COVID updates and any changes as a result of these state guidelines and OHA and whatever Governor Brown has got going at the moment. And so he's been very good and very thorough and very careful, and he's had to make some very tough decisions, as I said, to be able to serve the community to the best we still can and yet keep everybody safe. It's not an easy job. He's done a very good job, and the board relies on him and his input and keeping us in the loop. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. You get the next question. Do you believe the library should have restrictions on the use of bathrooms for transgendered individuals?
No. I was at an American Library Association conference a few years ago, and there were signs posted outside the restrooms there that made it very clear, in particular restrooms, that they, number one, were unisex so that anybody could use them. And if that was not something you wanted to deal with, then they would refer you to a restroom otherwise. And they could do that because this was a huge convention center and they had restrooms all over the place. We aren't going to be able to do that in our libraries. And so, and we wouldn't want to. So no, we are open to all. Our buildings are open to all, and that includes our restrooms. So whatever restroom a person feels entitled to use, that will be the restroom they will be allowed to use. So we are open to all, and we are into the diversity and the equity and the inclusion, and that includes the use of our restrooms in our libraries. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Anne, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
Do you believe the library should have restrictions on the use of bathrooms for transgendered individuals?
I do not. As Martha was saying, our libraries are open to all. So everyone should be able to feel safe and welcomed in our libraries. Our libraries are accessible, they're inclusive, and so I would not hesitate to have our transgendered individuals use our restrooms in our library. So no, I don't agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. Okay, so I think Anne, I was going to say, sorry, we got a little bit mixed up on timing because we're changing some questions around because you guys are doing such a great job of answering. So, okay, I believe Anne, you're the first on this one. COVID-19 has made us all more online meeting and streaming aware. Would you agree that some of the bond money should be used to upgrade the systems in meeting rooms to allow simultaneous internet broadcasts from, say, the Brooks Room at the downtown library?
I do. I am not familiar with the Brooks Room, but the COVID in the Zoom environment really is going to be part of our lives going forward. So many more of us are working from home. So many more of us are accessing our medical care online as well. I do believe that there is value to our libraries to have some technology and some space available for our patrons to have the teleconferencing availability. So I'm not a bond expert, but I would support having some of the bond monies used for the ability for our patrons to access the teleconferencing and the Zoom meetings throughout our library system. So I think that's going to be a part of our daily lives, and we're doing that tonight, which is an example of just how Zoomy we are anymore. So yeah, I would support our libraries facilitating that for our patrons. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Martha, same question. Would you like me to repeat?
Yes, please.
COVID-19 has made us all more online meeting and streaming aware. Would you agree that some of the bond money should be used to upgrade the systems in meeting rooms to allow simultaneous internet broadcast from, say, the Brooks Room in the downtown library?
Yes, absolutely. And money has been earmarked in the bond to do extensive technology upgrades. COVID has been quite a learning experience, and many adaptations that the libraries all over, not just ours, have made probably should and could be carried forward after the pandemic is behind us, to the degree that it will be. And so the pandemic made us realize just how technology and digital dependent we are, and it's gotten even more so with the pandemic. And it's a tremendous need in the community, and libraries exist to help their communities in any way they can. And we will be doing extensive technology upgrades, even in the East Bend library, which is a leased facility. There's a limit to what we can do physically there because it is leased, but the technology upgrades that we can put into that facility will be put in there, and they will be, as they will be throughout the other branches, and there'll be a state-of-the-art technology in Central Library. So we are very much behind upgrading the technology to the degree that we can, and making teleconferencing and telemedicine and working remotely. If they can't work from home, they can come in hopefully and work from a space in one of the libraries. So yes, anything and everything technology related, very important to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martha. Okay, Martha, you have the next question. The pandemic showed how valuable digital rentals of materials were. Previously, the budget for these services was assigned sparingly. Now that in-person use and rentals are coming back and there's a finite amount of budgeted money available, would you increase the budget for digital services over in-person services?
Well, that's a good question, because when we had to close down for the pandemic, the library stopped buying physical material and put their money into digital material. So there was quite a huge increase in investment in the digital materials for the duration that the library was completely closed down. So the digital collection is of increasing importance, but so are our printed material. And so the budget has to be such that they are both supported, because we have patrons who just want to read a book, a printed book. They don't want a digital book. And we have other people that's what they want. They want a digital book or they want an audio book. And then we have people in between who'll take whatever they can get. So the collection, in whatever form it takes, is of critical importance to the library and to this board, actually. And I don't know that I would prioritize one above the other. I think it would be, we have a collections department. I rely on their expertise to conduct that research, determine where the need lies, and allocate the funds as appropriate. But the collection is of top priority to all of the board in whatever form the collection takes, and needs to be adequately supported budget-wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. And would you like me to repeat?
Please.
The pandemic showed how valuable digital rentals of materials were. Previously, the budget for these services was assigned sparingly. Now that in-person use and rentals are coming back and there's a finite amount of budgeted money available, would you increase the budget for digital services over in-person services?
I'll have to admit that the digital library, the audiobooks and the ebooks really got me through the pandemic because I was able to really rely on that. But I also enjoy physical book, and know many of my friends and my book club members enjoy a physical book. So I think there needs to be a real balance in the budget between the digital and the physical collection. So I wouldn't say I prioritize one over the other, or one should have a bigger budget than the other. So I think we do need to work with the library staff and find that balance. There needs to be a healthy investment in both of those areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. This will be the last question, and then we'll go to the final statements. Anne, you're up for this. What do you believe the library board should do to help ease the transition from the COVID-19 close downs and reopenings to the public?
The library is working themselves into that. They've just increased their hours. I know the Lapine Library is open earlier now, as well as the Sunriver Library. I think the gradual reopening, I know I did talk to the librarian in the Lapine Library, and she mentioned that people are saying they're so happy to have more, more hours available for them to use the library. I think we are doing a nice job in that way. I think people will come back to the library, and I think if we can maybe start offering some activities to get us back into using the library. I think a lot of us have kind of fallen into that with staying close to home. But I think the library is doing a nice job of transitioning by increasing their hours, making it easier for people to come in. There still is a lot of space between computers, which is, to keep us safe from COVID, but the library is doing a nice job for that transition.
Thank you very much, Anne. Martha, same question. What do you believe the library board should do to help ease the transition from COVID-19 close downs and the reopenings for the public?
Okay, and that's a good question. And the board is not actually actively involved in making those decisions. That is our director's job. He is tasked to conduct the library business and make the decisions necessary to provide services and with COVID keep everybody safe. That said, he has taken, as Anna said, he has taken a slow conservative approach, and I think he is on the ball. He certainly keeps the board up to date as to what the plans are, when changes are going to happen, what the changes are going to be, and keeps us very much in the loop. So he, when the volunteers had program was put on hiatus because there couldn't have that many people in the building at once, that fell to staff then, that they had to do a lot of the work that the volunteers did. That led to the shortening of the hours so that they could do the volunteer work before they opened to the public. The volunteers have returned, and they were able to increase the hours, as Anne suggested, have stated, and they need to staff up now, because as people had left with the libraries being open such reduced times, there was staffing issues, and so they now have to start ramping up as far as adding staff. And so it is a slow process, and I think the slow is a good thing, because you don't want to open doors wide open and everybody gets to come back in, and then there's a surge in COVID and you got to close everything down again. And so I think the slow approach is the way to go, and Todd is handling it well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you both for your excellent answers on all these questions. So now we move on to the 2-minute final remarks. And Anne, because you were second on the opening, you get to go first.
Okay, thank you, Kim. I want to make it clear that I support revising the library's plans so we can ensure there's enough money to expand and improve programs in our community branch libraries. We can reallocate funds to provide the local libraries in our district with innovations, technology, resources, and space to equitably meet the needs of all of our community members, especially our children, our older adults, the disabled, and the disadvantaged. As I said before, in talking with neighbors and community members, I found many who did not support the bond. And that bothered me. And it was not because they don't value libraries, it's because they questioned the size and the location of that new library. They really wanted more for the community libraries that they use. The example I gave was to access the new library was driving 50 or 60 miles from Sunriver in Lapine back home. And I just wonder how many of our community members will be able and willing to do that. I know the library points to research showing that the public had interest in large meeting rooms and event venues. But as I said before, those studies were done before the pandemic. We talked about the past experiences this year that are changing our daily lives. As I said before, tonight's example is the forum is now over Zoom. So many more of us are working from home and using the internet to access resources. That's a big shift in our daily lives. And our libraries will be integral in providing the needed support to carry on with this shift. I care about our communities, and I want the library to re-examine their expansion plans to place much more emphasis on growing our local communities. I think we can do better. I'm Ann Ness, and I'm running for the library board in Zone 3. I would be honored to have your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ann. Martha, your closing statement, please.
Okay, so again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to participate in this forum. I also do want to correct something. When Ann stated that the East Bend Library was scheduled to be closed, I want to assure everybody the East Bend Library is not closing. The library board approved a 5-year lease extension in its August meeting, and the East Bend Library is alive and well. It has bond money allocated to upgrade it to the degree that we can, since we can't do structural changes to a leased facility. So don't worry, East Bend is here to stay. So, but in closing, so now my closing, my time on the Deschutes Public Library Board has been an extremely rewarding experience, and one that I would very much like to continue. Our library is a terrific organization with a wonderfully dedicated and competent staff. It's been an honor to work with them and my fellow board members over the years. Plus, I'm a person who likes to complete what she starts. So if nothing else, I would like to be reelected so that I can see the bond implementation through to completion. I believe my extensive experience and knowledge will add value as we implement the bond and the library looks to its future. Thank you for your consideration and support.
Thank you very much, Martha. And thank you, candidates, for joining us today. You both did an excellent job. Thank you also to the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County and City Club of Central Oregon for partnering to get this information out. Remember, if you enjoyed today's forum and would like to help cover the cost, please consider making a donation to City Club on their website at cityclubco.org. And if you are interested in becoming a member or making a contribution to the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County, please contact them through their website at lwvdeschutes.org. Thanks again to our Candidate Forum series sponsors, G5 Digital Marketing, Miller Lumber, Brooks Resources, the Deschutes Public Library, Shear Shaw's Group, and Louis Capozzi. Without their support, we would not be able to bring you forums that make and keep democracy strong. The next candidate forum will be the Bend Metro Park and Recreational District candidates for positions 3 and 4, and will air on April 27th at 5:30 p.m. on the City Club of Central Oregon YouTube channel. Thank you for your interest and in keeping democracy alive. This was pre-recorded at an earlier time, and thank you for watching.